Welcome to the special public meeting of April 4th, 2019 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers on April 2nd, 2019, and this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board and on the Township website. Please notify the municipal clerk for any disability requirements necessary for attendance at mayor and council meetings. Fire exits are located through the double doors to your right and through the door on your left. Please silence all cell phones. Would everyone please stand for a salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councilman Bruno.
Here.
Councilman Casio. Councilman Cumming.
Here.
Councilman Ullman.
Here.
Council President DeSena.
Here. Also in attendance, Mayor Peter Calamari, Administrator Robert Tovo, CFO Judy Curran, and Township Clerk Susan Witkowski. Motion to open the meeting up to the public, please.
So moved. Second.
Councilman Bruno.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Seeing no one in the audience, motion to close the public discussion.
So moved. Second. Yes.
Councilman Bruno.
Yes.
Councilman Cumming.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we're going to continue on the 2019 budget. In front of your packet, you have the new Edmonds run, correct, Judy? That's the latest and greatest, April 4th, 6:29 p.m.
Yes.
We also have a draft copy of the increasing of the mayor's budget and the decreasing of the mayor's budget,
Which will be doubly proof tomorrow. just
which
to
will
make
be
sure.
just a
Doubly
draft,
proofread.
correct, okay.
Yeah.
Judy, do you have the
Actually,
the tax impacts with the
the machine jammed, so Linda's making a couple of the copies for me, so I have a few that I could pass around.
Okay.
It jammed, so
It's overworked.
it's
It's
overworked.
overworked,
Let's see what we got.
like most of us.
This is 1.2.
I believe she did a bunch of,
I
she did 3, right?
different scenarios, that's one for you,
5 and 1.8.
and then you guys will have to share over there until we get through. She's gonna make the other copies for me. Sure.
Bob, you
I
going
tried
through the
to fix
budget
the
right
jam,
now
but
on the Edmonds pages, or how do you want to, you want to start on the Edmonds pages first?
Yeah. I think,
Oh, God bless you.
Oh, hey.
think we should see where we are with that.
No, I did not get it yet.
Yeah, we should, what's open, except for the, well, there's one thing that, there's a couple of things,
Yes, you had a few items you want.
if I may.
Yes, absolutely. I said you had a few items you wanted to
Okay,
discuss.
so first, I would like to discuss not the person, but the findings regarding the payroll and salary increase and how it came about and
Okay.
where we are with that.
Well, that person has been riced also, so
You need a copy
that person has
back.
been riced as well.
Okay.
No, we do, yeah. No,
I need one.
but Judy needs one to discuss it.
So then we can talk?
Yes, we can
In
talk.
close.
Okay.
In close.
Okay, so,
I gave you mine.
Yes, that's a tax impact you needed the copy.
We have enough now?
We have one for Mr. Cumming and Mr. Cassia.
By any chance? Thank you.
We're good now or not? We're good? I thought I had the right count.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So Bob, we'll wait till we go into closed regarding that subject?
well, I don't want to discuss performance, I just want to, it's not a closed session issue.
Correct.
So we can
Okay.
discuss where we are, what we found, what's happening, how it came about, who approved it, et cetera.
Part of it has to do with reading in some closed session minutes. So I would ask that we defer to closed.
No, I'd like to know.
But I can't read it on the record.
I'm not discussing any performance issues or evaluations. We discussed it in public before. I'd like to know how a person received an increase, what the procedure was, who approved it, and what the paperwork was. Has nothing to do with the person, so I'd like to know that, period.
but it has to do with revealing things that were said in a closed session that.
I'm not
minutes are
asking about a
public.
closed session. I want to know, again, how this person received an increase, who approved it, and what forms were filled out, and why we were not informed about it, period.
And part of that answer has to
So
do with.
I'm not asking
All
you.
right, we'll
I'm
go back and
asking-
forth all night, though.
Bob, let's,
No, I'm not asking you. I'm asking the council
Oh,
president.
I don't have, Bob, I have not received the information we had asked at the last
So
meeting.
let's have the information. Let's see the
Is the
information.
information been prepared?
Some of it's written and some of it's verbal.
So has it been prepared is the question. We want to see the information we requested, unless you're hiding something.
I'm not hiding it, though.
Okay, so
I don't
let's,
have the W-2 or anything
so
that we
let's see. So
requested. Do we
so
have
we
that?
asked Judy to make a presentation, so
Do we
please
have the
make,
W-2?
so please make a presentation.
Is that okay?
Is it redacted? Social?
Oh, I don't know if that is, let me see. No.
Can you redact it? Can we block it out? Can we get a, do you have a Sharpie up there or something we can do it?
No, but if you want me to go get one, I will get one.
If we can?
Yeah.
I think we just Sharpie it
I'm
out.
sorry, I didn't realize.
Linda might have one. Linda might even have
Okay.
one. That I don't have, sorry.
Sorry for my tardiness, but I thought it was a 7:30 start. I apologize.
That was a few minutes late myself.
Linda did have one.
Is the
She's
pen,
a
is the
good
pen
person.
working okay?
Oh, yeah, you got
a nice Okay.
thick black Sharpie. Was there anything else, Bob, Mike Ullman, that we wanted to move on, or we want to wait on this? So
I'm happy to wait.
you're happy to wait? Dr. Cassidy, do you want to move on any other line in the budget while we're
No,
waiting for?
Let's concentrate on this line at this point.
Okay. Mr. Cumming, anything you want to?
No.
I did have
Thank
a
you.
question.
Sure.
When we had the rec department in,
Yes.
at the very end, they had indicated that they may want to request an increase for some
March 26th.
services that Westwood is providing for, I believe, seniors. They were going to come back to us and see if they needed to add anything. Do we know if that?
No?
I remember it now that you say it. I can say they have not come back to us. I know they've been very busy setting up for the summer rec, because registration started yesterday, and so they were working with Bethany and stuff.
Sure.
So, not yet, but,
Okay.
yeah.
So could we, I guess that's one of the items for, Bob, can we talk to Mr. Sedekase and see if we need to increase that budget? Mr. Mayor, Bob, right? Yeah, it may have just slipped through the cracks because of
Yeah.
everything going
Yeah.
on. That's fine. You have copies, Judy, from you?
What line item is this salary budgeted on again? Sorry.
You got to give me a second. It is on,
This one package here.
Yeah, this is the analysis, and the other backup is.
What, take one and pass?
No, the whole packet is here.
That's a packet?
it is 90120130160 on page 9. And it is also, because it's two things put together.
Yeah. So
And-
page 9, I'm sorry, what was it? 902, 20, 131,
Thank you.
what? 60?
It is, sorry, I just flipped the page. It is 90120130160.
160, okay.
And then on page On page 10,
Yep.
it is 901-20-145-110.
Thanks.
Yep.
What was that second one?
It is on page 10, Mike, 901-20-145-110. So the two total lines equal $50,168. Correct, Mr. Bruno? Do you see that?
I didn't hear. So, say again. So you got the 44,908?
No, 45,168 on page 10.
Second one from the bottom, Bob.
Second one from the bottom, 45,168.
Oh, sorry, yes. Okay.
And then on page 9, you have 5.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody see that?
What page you on?
9 and 10. Mr. Bruno had asked what pages the two items were on.
Okay, take us through it, please, Judy.
In terms of the analysis, I went through all the stubs, and I compared them all to the W-2. If you look at the analysis, in the beginning of the year, salary started, it was 44,200. And we get paid every 2 weeks, twice a month, so I divided it by 24, and it gives you a salary per pay period. And then I put the number of pay periods at this salary and the total salary that was paid based upon the 18,4167. Then there was...
Which is
was
the
the-
amount that we rolled from 17 into 18
18.
prior to adoption of salary ordinance
Yes.
and budget.
Can you give me that number again, please?
The,
44,863 is the 2018 appropriation.
Okay.
and then there was, I guess you had the 1.5 yearly increase, and that brought it up to 44,863. And according to the general ledger and what was charged to the budget, that was from 531 to 928. And it was the same analysis, number of pay periods 24. The increase came to 1,869.29 per pay period for 9 pay periods. And that was a total salary, given that salary per pay period of 1,869.29. Then the salary, I also took the salary from the period of 10/15/18 to 12/31/18, and I took the regular salary of 44,863, which included the 1.5 increase, and the other increase that was given at that point in time, which is the 15,137. And of course, that was prorated for that time.
So that increase started in the pay period ending 10/15 or
Well,
starting?
it started
10?
10/15. However, if you look down, I have the 60,000 minus the 44,863, because
Okay.
it was annualized for that
Yeah.
time period. And if you go further down, I have 2 retro pays.
Okay,
The first retro pay is representing the 44,2,
yeah,
for the 44,863 for that time period, going back 9 pays.
okay,
The second retro pay is representative of this 10/15 to 12/31/18, because that was actually retro back to September 1 with that
okay.
calculation.
So, I'm sorry, the first retro pay is the
1.5%
1.5%
increase,
increase
right.
to day one.
Yes.
And then the
The
second,
second one is actually based upon the new salary, annualized, which is the 15,137. However, even though the budget and general ledger stated 10/15/18, when I calculated, the retro actually went back to 9/1/18, went back to September 1st of 2018 rather. And another part of the analysis was some planning and zoning work that was done, and that was $2,000. I come to a total of $51,908.68. If you look at the W-2 that's attached, you really need to look at the bottom area.
Yep,
On the upper left corner, it says $51,908.69 is the gross wage. That $249.21 is what we get taxed upon if we have, if the salary is in excess of $50,000, that's your contributory insurance. You have to include that in taxes, but the top really is what the salary is. And that coincides with the analysis.
So Bob, does that answer your question that we could do in open?
Well, no, I'd like to know, there's a 33% increase that was given, and we've been trying to find out, do you have a salary action form for this?
I didn't have anything else.
Nothing,
I
so-
just went by budget,
So-
what was booked, and then, of course, by the stubs.
Okay, so how does an employee go and get a $15,000, 33% increase without a salary action form? Who approved it, and how did it go into payroll?
I believe that's for closed, Mr. Mayor, you said?
No, it's not, this is a policy procedural
And
situation.
Mr. Bruno's answered it, so.
No, I am answering, so answer the question, Mayor. You're the only one who has the authority to give an increase, so answer the
I'll
question.
say it again. It involves something in the closed session that we can't
Right, so I'll say it
disclose.
again. Were you aware of the increase?
I was.
You were. So for 3 weeks, we've asked the question, and you flat out denied and answered us as to why this was done, and you said you didn't know it was done. For 3 weeks, you said that. Why?
Because I had to re-go through my notes. I didn't commit it to memory.
You didn't commit it to memory. One person got a $15,000 increase, and we've asked the question for 3 weeks, and you never answered us purposely.
Yeah, purposely. Okay,
Right.
Bob.
I agree.
Yeah.
Bob,
You know it all, so why don't you just answer this whole thing?
No, you know it all, but you're not telling us. So tell us.
Bob,
Why did you give the increase?
So am I allowed to say these closed minutes in public?
They're only a draft, they're not even approved, they haven't even been seen. So I think it should be done in closed session.
so these are draft minutes, Sue, that we're talking
Yeah,
about?
it's a snippet.
Okay.
So I guess my question is, procedurally, what, do we know which ledger lines these came out of?
They were all, actually, they were coded to, am I allowed to say the budget line?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, that's public.
I just want to make sure, Deputy Treasurer.
No, the only thing we're not talking about is the closed session minutes, which are not been
They
released to the
were,
public yet.
they were coded actually to Deputy Treasurer Benefits Coordinator. However, when I actually first started in December and I was looking at year end, the first thing I did was I actually ran the budget to see if there was anything overexpended, because that's not a very good thing to have. And this line item was overexpended, and I needed to reclass some of that to go into the Deputy Treasurer line item. I'm sorry, the Deputy Tax Collector line item, which had $5,000 put in, otherwise this would have been terribly overspent, this account.
So you moved, you made the entry?
I made the entry.
From.
But you didn't change her salary, you
No,
just
no.
fixed the budget when you
I
got
fixed the
here.
budget because this was way overspent, and I thought a mistake had to be made because there was $5,000 in the budget for a deputy tax collector, and that had $5,000 left in it. Nothing was charged to that line item.
Okay.
And I actually thought that maybe that would have been both titles. I wasn't really sure, but this one was so blown out of the water that we really couldn't sit with that negative balance there.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would have had to raise that money in this year's current budget, and that couldn't be because it was an S&W line item.
For last year, for
And you should never-
2018.
You should never overspend an S&W line item.
Okay.
How much
Mike.
was it overspent?
Five.
About, 5,000.
$5,000.
Mike, does that answer your question when it comes to what you asked, Mike?
It does, so, so those two lines are 49,863. 49,863.
That's what it would have been.
The planning and zoning work, was that paid out of another line, or was that?
That was paid out of planning and zoning. I believe it actually was in the meetings portion, I believe it went to.
Now, is that part of any of the salary ordinance for this person that they get this?
I don't believe it was a part of salary ordinance, but I did have to ask the payroll person, because she did help me with this, and she said that $2,000 was given out, and that it was for zoning and planning work. And that's where it was charged to.
And it was vouchered? It was proper voucher?
No, it was through payroll. It was through payroll.
Is that standard operating procedure for that particular line? Is it payroll, or is there a voucher for how many times the person, is that for meetings, or?
I was told it was for zoning and planning work.
It could have been it may have been for escrow work
Okay.
when she was, right? I don't know if I'm allowed to say, yeah, that's part of her,
Well,
that's part of her job function, so there's escrows involved in planning and zoning.
I believe it had to do with escrow and both secretarial while we were in between.
Okay. I knew it was
also.
escrow, I knew she was working on the escrow stuff, so.
Right.
So it could be a combination of escrow and salary for,
For the meeting
For
stuff.
meetings.
Yeah.
Yes.
okay, so there should be, are there vouchers for meeting work, or that just part of a
Well,
salary
it
for
went,
that?
according to the stubs for the paychecks, it went through payroll.
So
That's
that's not voucher work?
No, not that true, no.
Okay.
The only thing that's vouchered is the actual attendance at the meeting.
At the meetings,
Right.
right?
There's a one-time adjustment, there's a, it looks like there's a.
You see that 2,000 with the adjustment
It was-
on, when anything's extra like that, ADS codes it as adjustment.
Okay. Is this end date proper?
I'm sorry?
The end date on this,
You have two at the end date, one shows the 2,000 and one shows the regular.
so that end, do we know when that adjustment was paid, I guess?
I was told it was at the end of the year.
Okay. Yeah, it's dated 12/28, so,
If you were to take the last one in your package.
It's the last one, Mike. It's
Yeah.
the last one
Add up all
in
of
Joy's
these
packet.
numbers here. If you look at the last pack, the last one,
In Judy's
1228. If you were to add up the 1, 2, regular retro and adjustment, you would get to what's on the W-2.
Yes. Yeah, I see you added it in the column
Right.
above it. Thank you.
Okay?
And who authorized that now? And why?
I don't know who authorized that. I know when I asked the payroll person, she said that that was supposed to be for zoning and planning.
okay, so I understand that. And I appreciate that you have that information. I would have to think that for someone to be paid a one-time adjustment, that there would need to be some level of documentation in the payroll department. A backup, a memo of understanding, an explanation, the lines that it comes out of, because I would think it has to be processed. So I guess my question is, do we have that information? So we made a adjustment that was paid to an individual for $2,000 at the end of the year. Do we know what it was for? Did it cover hours? Was it a blanket stipend or a blanket adjustment? And, you know, why was it made? And who authorized it? And, you know, where are the general ledger entries? I'm sure someone has to sign them. I'm sure someone has to action something in payroll. You know, does any of that documentation exist?
Offhand, I couldn't answer. I'd have to check with Dina on that tomorrow.
So, okay. So, in my mind, we can check with Dina tomorrow. I don't know Dina, I've never met her, and I wouldn't want to speak for her. But my guess is that she would not go in and give someone a $2,000 adjustment. Someone had to instruct it. So I guess my question is, who instructed it? Do we know that?
I instructed it, yes.
Okay.
And it was for secretarial work, like I said, and escrow work.
So the escrow work, wouldn't that be covered as part of her responsibilities, either in the finance department or the tax department? It seems like it's a, you know, the payment is for work that is part of the job description. So is this over and above? Was there a special circumstance that we need to be made aware of?
Trying to think for a moment. Let me say, escrow was being done by a few different people. Again, I would defer to Judy as to who should handle it ongoing. But, yeah, I know she was doing escrow work and secretarial work because there was no one in the office, and so she was splitting her time. And
Well, we don't operate on a piecemeal basis with jobs, okay? You have a job description, and your job is to fulfill those duties. It's not like if we have an abundance of escrow work or other work, and we give it to someone, they get more for doing that work. You're paid on an hourly basis, basically, and whatever that work entails, that's what you get paid for. And it's not like you're here for extra hours above your managerial position, doing other work and getting paid on top of that. I think that's what's probably really troubling to me. If you're here for 35 hours and they give you X, Y, Z to do X, Y, Z. And if there's A1 after you're done with X, Y, Z, does that fall into another category where we're going to pay you more? And from my understanding how a position here in Town Hall works, that's not the case. Maybe I've been misinformed. But being here for 9 years, I haven't seen another case such as that. So it's a little bit perplexing to me, even if it's escrow work or doing secretarial work, you know, maybe a little bit more. I don't understand why there's a bump in compensation. So maybe I've been misinformed for all these years. I'm unsure.
well, again, I don't know who should handle the escrow part, but the planning and zoning secretarial work that was done was clearly over and above her job description. She jumped into it because of lack of personnel that no one else, you know, we just didn't have anyone else to do it, and we had people showing up. So, you know, I'm going to say she took it on by herself, but that, you know, that came with her working additional hours.
Was this asked for by her, or did you volunteer to give it to her because
She-
you felt you should get it?
The money itself? Or
We're only talking
the
about-
position?
No, we're talking about $2,000 right
Mhm,
now.
mhm. It was something that I decided to give her because of the time she put in on it.
Okay, so because you felt she did some extra stuff, you decided to take taxpayer money and give her $2,000 more in addition to a $15,000 increase. Just want to be clear on that. Yes or no?
I did.
Okay, good.
So we have so I guess one of the things that I always understood to be the case is we have sort of a series of checks and balances. So we have a salary ordinance, and the existing ordinance that is in place for 2018 is based on a cap or a max. There's no range. This is what the individual should be receiving. That translates to a budget line or a general ledger line.
Yes.
And there are, or there should be, controls within our processes to ensure that someone doesn't get overpaid.
Yes.
Someone doesn't get paid more than they should. So you mentioned, Judy, that you made entries because we were overspent. So I know you came on towards the end of
December.
December. When did this overspending begin?
If you look at,
Well, the increase went through in October, but when was the 2,000 given?
December, we said that already, we saw the statement, it's for December the 2000. But
Yeah, so-
the retro
Right.
went back to September 1st, because I asked
On
Judy.
page 22,
Yeah.
I think it starts.
well, I would have to say, I had to go back, I had to make, I have my notes in front of me, I had to make a change. Let's see, I went back and I reclassed in October, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, you reclassed for October in December.
Right, I
Okay, I just wanted,
I
yeah.
had to actually reclass all of October, most of November and December, because there was $5,000 left on the deputy tax collector line that was not used. And that's why I reclassed it.
Okay.
And I would have to say that it went into a negative, and one thing I did tell Dina, which she was not aware of, where Dina used to work, there's an option where you can override, and you go into the red. And they use that where she worked. I'm not a fan of that. So I said to her, we do not do that. If you want to budget anything, whether it's S&W, or it's just a regular, a rec, or whatever it is, but when you see that red, you have to come to me. We don't override anything. I'm not a fan of that.
Okay. So
Good.
can she override it by herself? Like, is there a check and balance so that, does a report go to someone in finance? Does a report go to the administrator? Does a report go to the mayor? So one thing that we've talked about is that we really don't receive any financial reporting.
Right.
So, had this been reported, it may have surfaced. It just seems that there's a lot of responsibility on single individuals, and there is a lack of check and balances, because, again, we've always been told you can't spend more than is in the line. We have a salary ordinance, you can't get paid more than that. So, I'm just trying to understand procedurally how we got to this point, and is it simply that the payroll administrator, overrode it and it went through and that's where it stops? Or should someone be monitoring this and understanding what it truly means? I mean, being over may not be important. You said in her prior role at another organization, they overrode it. Here, the goal is to not spend more than we've appropriated.
Right.
So how do we overspend an appropriation?
Well, that's why I said when I first started, the first thing I did was I ran all the year-to-date budgets, and when I noticed that,
Okay.
I started investigating as to why that happened.
And you found the
And I
place to
found
put
that,
it.
and I knew there's something, because I said, if you really can't spend outside the salary ordinance, and if the state were to ever to ask for that budget and they saw that, and we didn't, because it would not be good to be able to overspend the salary ordinance. And sometimes they do check back and they look. And the fact that I would have to raise an S&W line item in the current budget would not be,
In 2019, you mean.
right, would not be good at all. So my assumption was that something should have been charged to the other line item, because there was $5,000 left in that line item.
And it matched what you were short.
Right, what I was short. The other thing is, as far as, then I actually get every single line item, and I'm doing that with Dina now, and I said.
Don't use names, we didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm with the accounts payable person, and I said to her, she's not doing that now, but she was taught that. I know other people do it that way, but to me.
She was taught what?
About overriding, she was taught that in her old position, that you were allowed to
In
override.
her old position.
And I said, I'm not a fan of that. So every time now when we do a budget run, and any bill list or anything like that, as soon as anybody puts a rec in, they cannot override it. Right? They said, like, as a matter of fact, I do believe it was secretary to a department, canteen station, I want to buy something, and I'm in the red, can't buy it.
Okay.
So we do have the checks and balances.
Yes,
We have a new
yes.
procedure in place now that stops it.
And also,
Yes.
there were features activated in Edmonds that allowed the override.
And we turned
so
them
they're
off?
all off.
Okay.
Hold on.
So you can't do it.
So you, both Mr. Tovo and Mrs. Curran have taken care of some of these issues
Yes.
that are lurking from the past that have been, under new best management practices, put to bed.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd just like to say, no one ever told me that we were overspending the line. It was news to me,
Well, the only thing I would imagine that,
Which line?
the line that Judy's referring to.
I would imagine
Salary?
that there was certain salaries put in that
Hold on, I'm
line.
sorry, 1 second. If you gave somebody an increase, you had to know you overspent the line. A $15,000 increase. No one has to tell you that you overspent the line. You gave an increase. So you have to know you overspent the line.
What I'm saying is, I probably would have done the same thing that Judy did after the fact, was tell someone to reappropriate it from a different position, but no one ever told me that we were, overspending a certain line.
Okay, gentlemen,
So
the rest of this, the rest.
Sorry, Mike.
Oh, go ahead. All right.
I just, there's a lot of controls here, and it's money, and it's resident money.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And it's, we've worked hard for the last 3 years to clean this mess up, and now it became an even bigger mess this year. Okay, so to Mike's point, as a CFO, I don't know how it works, you, as a CFO, should sign off on every increase that goes in the system. It's what I do in my job. No one in my job gets a payroll increase unless it comes through me, and I give it to the payroll person. So the payroll person needs to be instructed going forward, nothing gets done unless your signature is on it. That's I don't know how it does now, but obviously we're not.
Well, Judy, right now, just so you're aware, Bob, since Judy started, every voucher I sign now as president, and if she was here when you were, has her name on it. She physically reviews that
No, I
voucher.
understand.
No, but that's something new. We've never had that before in township history. Maybe when she was here, and
We had it, it was
okay.
never enforced.
Okay, so just, since she got here, every single voucher that's on our desk, she signs before any of us do, that it's accurate to the best of her knowledge as CFO for the Township of Washington. Correct, Judy? Is that a fair statement?
But I think in this type of government, I think when there's a salary increase, I think that comes from the administrator. That's how it was in the past. I don't know, I don't ever remember the CFO saying, well, make this change. I thought it came from administration, but I can't be.
The salary increase comes from administration?
Well, in other words,
Yes.
I think the
Sure.
administrator
Yes.
is the one that says it goes to
To
payroll,
the-
and says
but-
increase, I think.
but
I don't
you,
know
Mr.
if it's
Brewer-
When you-
CFO.
But the point is, once that's done, CFO should certify the funds are there.
Yes.
To pay them.
Similar to.
Well, there's two things that
Because
need to
then
be,
they're billed.
no, but there's two things that need to be certified, that there's a salary ordinance in place for that increase, Bob.
That's what
I
I'm
think that's
saying.
where the
That-
disconnect is on this
You
whole
have to,
thing,
you
is
have to
that,
have the funds there
because if the
appropriated,
council
you
doesn't
can raise
approve,
it
because if the
you'd
council
like
doesn't
to
approve
that-
the salary
to that
ordinance,
max.
you can't raise it, Bob, right?
That's what I was
So
getting.
without a salary ordinance increase, even though you're requesting it,
It doesn't go.
it doesn't go.
Correct.
And if it's not in the budget, if the increase is going to take place at a certain point in time, you have to have the area, money in somewhere else, and then do a transfer. to make up for
Immediately
that.
during that salary ordinance, right? So if we were,
I mean,
if we would have done this with a salary ordinance, we would have had to find the 15,000 of where we're taking it from in the salary. Say, all right, we're gonna give a $15,000 increase. Well, where's the 15,000 coming from? Because you would have to physically transfer that 15 into salary and wages in order for this to
Exactly,
happen.
another line, of it, and it could only happen in November,
You know,
Of course.
What's that? It can only happen in November and
November,
December.
December.
Transfers like
Yes.
that only happen in November, I've come to learn.
we talk about a range, when we do a salary ordinance now, okay? And let's say 50 to 80,000. You have that breadth. in there,
Flexibility, yes.
Flexibility. I know a lot of towns do that range. Here's an ideal situation where that range should be eliminated, where this is the number, and this is what we're playing with.
The only
Because
problem with that, Dr. Cassidy,
I know what you're
is
going to say.
when somebody leaves,
Yes,
and you
I
have to bring in
understand.
somebody in more tenured, that you're
Then-
stuck with that
then
number.
needs some flexibility.
Yes,
I
correct.
understand that, but that would alleviate or eliminate this particular situation.
And I see your point, it's well taken, but
I know.
you still have to do a salary resolution then, if you have a range, to set the exact dollar amount of the salary.
I understand that, but again, if you're trying to curtail this from happening, that's one way to avoid it.
Well, now that we can't override the system, that's the first major part of it, and that we've put it out that, we need a salary ordinance if anybody's salary is ever changed, and Mr. Tobo is well aware of that he can't, just arbitrarily change somebody's salary without our permission, because the council is the the keeper of the finances of this township. And without our approval, it can't happen. And that's just the way this Faulkner form of government is set up. I mean, the mayor can make the recommendation, he's got to come to us with, and change the salary ordinance, and then Mr. Tobo gets it approved, gets it through, and sends it to the CFO, correct?
Can I ask, another control in this process should be a personal action form. So I know when I had asked the former administrator to lower my salary, she wouldn't do it unless I signed a personal action form. When I was council president, I reviewed and initialed the clerk's action form, personal action form. So my question, again, and I don't, it sounds like you don't have it, but is there personal action forms to support this? And would you have to review it just to ensure that that money is available? So is there a line, not that you approve that this person is getting it, but you're certifying, I guess similar to some of the language that we see in some of our resolutions, do you have to certify that it's available? Would that typically be something that you do? Would you see that personal action form?
I didn't see a personal action form, but if I was given a personal action form, I would definitely make sure that there were certifiable funds. I remember one time this actually happened to me in a town where they wanted to give someone a raise mid-year, and we looked for the money, and we made a resolution, and that's what we did. I don't know what happened, I didn't have a personal action form
Okay.
to say, but I would definitely make sure that those funds were available.
All right. So can I ask Pete and Bob, is there a personal action form for, and I would expect it might not exist for the 1.5%, but I would, and it may, but certainly I would expect it to be available for the other salary increase, and I don't know if it needs to be captured in the adjustment that was made. So do we have personal action forms covering this activity?
Rather you answer that since your administration.
We do.
You do? All right. And they're properly executed?
They are.
Okay.
So there are personal action forms for this increase?
Correct.
How come we don't have that? We asked for that.
It's part of the personnel file.
It doesn't matter. We asked for a copy of the personal action form to show that someone got an increase for
Well,
this
I
situation.
did ask Mr. Polar if we should release anything from the file. He said, generally speaking, no. I told him it was a particular document. He said, let me look into it, and I haven't heard back from him. But there is one there that supports the raise.
So we asked the question for 3 weeks, and now, lo and behold, there's a form that shows up in the file. Is that correct?
There is a
For
form
3
in the
weeks,
file.
no one was able to tell us. I think it was even said there wasn't anything, but now there is.
So it was never said there wasn't anything, just that we hadn't looked there yet. So when we looked, it was there.
Now, I got to be honest with you. The whole thing stinks, and I want to go on record saying that. And it's quite obvious what was done here, except it was discovered, and you got caught. You got caught giving out an increase that you shouldn't have. You got caught giving out $2,000 piece of bonus that you shouldn't have. Shouldn't happen. It should not happen. And we as the council are responsible for this budget. We spend hours upon hours upon hours. And that should not happen. And we have to dig through and find it. And if we don't spend time, if Mike and I, and I'm sure the others did too, spent hours and hours and hours looking through this stuff, we wouldn't know because no one tells us. It's hidden. That's wrong. That's unethical to have that happen. And to sit here for 3 weeks and ask the same questions, and now all of a sudden, we find out that the mayor did it when he wasn't sure. We find out there's a performance action form. I mean, who are we kidding? I know what's happening here. I've been in business for 45 years. I know what happened here. Period. It stinks. And with that, I'm going to request, as Mr. Castro requested, who never asked for anything, I never asked for anything either. I am requesting and asking and making a motion for $10,000 for professional fees to be put in the council budget for a forensic accountant to come in here and rip through these books once and for all. So I make a motion, hopefully I have a second, and a unanimous vote. I make a motion to put $10,000 in the budget for professional fees for the council.
Don't we have a
forensic
line item
accountant.
for us to do
We
stuff?
do, but we don't have enough in there, so
Which line item
Bob,
is
can I
that?
ask a question?
I don't know.
Mr. Tova, do you know the signatures that are on that personal action form?
I do, yes.
Can you state whose signatures are on that personal action form? That's,
Fully answered, I would fully answer it in executive,
Can we discuss, will we be able to discuss it in closed?
yes.
Well, you can discuss it now. Somebody signed the form. We're not talking about performance. First of all, if it's a mayor or a council member, they don't need to be riced and talked about in closed session, period. So who signed the form?
Signed by well, my concern is it's still part of the personnel file.
We're asking who signed the form. Dr. Castro asked a specific question.
Whose names are on that form?
The employee, the former administrator prior to myself, and the mayor.
The former administrator. She was gone.
The interim.
The interim,
Oh, the interim,
Ma'am.
sorry. Wonderful. Thank you. So
All right.
anyway, I made a motion.
Everything, oh, so Bob, what item do
I
you
don't
want to
know, I have
increase?
to find our council budget.
It's on, starts on page 4.
Under financial services, where that was at?
No,
We have professional
I want it in the
services.
council because it should be controlled. The committee should be us, the council, because we can do an agenda committee. And we should control the,
On page 5, the third line down.
Council, other professional service, we have 5,000 in there, Bob.
right, so we should put it, we should make that 15.
So
Or make
what-
it 10,
what-
or
I don't
make it
think, I
10.
don't.
Can,
if-
can you ask me what you want done? Can you, just, I know you said,
Yeah, so
I'm just curious, I
forensic-
want you to,
There are forensic accounting people and/or
Okay.
firms that come into municipalities and will go through and do forensic accounting. I will give a list of everything that I've been through for the 3 years here to look at and what needs to be done, and I'm sure Mr. Ullman could also add to it, and anybody else can. But we've gone through these things, we know in our mind there are issues. So I can get a list together, but it needs to be done, because Judy just said also, when she came in, there were a lot of line items that were over budgeted and got moved. So again, you know, we had one invoice that got split into 3 different accounts. Technically, that's wrong. We also took $5,000 away from that account that we budgeted to be used for some other reason. So forensic accountant knows what to do. They come in, we direct them, and they get this done, because this is an embarrassment. I'm done with this, I mean, to be honest with you. We worked hard to clean it up, and it's a disaster, period.
I would also say, Michael, that one other area that I would like a deeper understanding on is the former engineer. So we were presented with a bill or a past
Yes,
due
okay.
invoice.
I think Mr. Tovo could speak to what's going on with that, right?
Well, let Mike finish.
Oh, so
No, I mean, so those,
how it occurred, I guess, is what you're
well,
saying?
we know how it occurred.
Correct.
It was
Just not paying invoices
just not
for 10
paying.
years, yeah.
Exactly. But how it was resolved, I guess, is my question. So there were, what was paid as an expense to the residents through taxes, meaning what was paid through current fund, and then what was cleared up through escrow, what remains, if anything, and, has that been successfully resolved? I know we wanted to draw a line at one point
Well, in
because some of it was covered.
September, so I guess, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong on this. When the council decided to make an effort to resolve Mr. Azzolino's invoices, at the time, I think there were 113,000 or whatever it was, there was 80 of it approximately that the Township of Washington owed to him for services rendered to us, not individual homeowners, to the township, and we were able to clear those up going back through past projects, and we paid them an initial check of close to like $80,000, correct, Mr. Tova? or maybe 2 checks totaling.
I can't be sure of the amount, that
But-
predates me, but the borough's or township's liability to Mr. Aslin on our projects is up to date and paid off, with the exception of the newer.
Understood, that you have to draw the line.
And I believe there was about $30,000 in escrow fees that was never paid to Mr. Azzolino through the years, approximately. I don't,
I actually have an update on this.
oh, there you go,
I
Mrs.
worked on
Curran.
that today.
So I guess the original number is 113, right? Something like
Well, what
that?
happened was, he sent Joy an update, he sent Finance Office an update, and he had a balance of $43,000, and the big portion of that, which were like 19 numbers.
Yes.
So what I did was I analyzed some of it.
Wait a minute, they were 19 numbers?
There was some from 2019. including
What about
the
18?
bill. Okay, and 18, he goes back from 17, has 17, 18, and 19.
So what I find hard to understand is that how do we owe him if I want to build that, let me just give me 5 minutes, Mike. If I want to build a new project in Washington Township, I come in and the first thing you ask me for is a check for all my fees, engineering, planning, zoning, building, you name it, right? And I cut you this check, right? Gets deposited in Mike DeSena LLC, whatever, right? And all of a sudden, Mr. Azzolino starts billing to it, planning engineer starts billing to it, or zoning engineer starts billing to it. Everybody starts billing to it, right? I would think that if Mr. Azzolino billed something in January of 18 under prompt payment, I'll give you 60 days. But that invoice by March is a crime that we don't pay it if the money is there. And if the money is not there, it is our responsibility to call the applicant and say, no more work will be done until you post additional escrow. And this is the reason why. Our engineer, our planning officer, whoever, went through all your money because you made 5 submissions. Or you made 1 submission, but it was a large submission and it expended all your funds. So we will no longer work on your project until you post more escrows. It seems like if we owe them stuff from 17 and 18, well, who's paying them? And it's shame on them for not being more diligent and saying, pay me, but I guess they're just used to not being paid, which is a shame. It's disgusting for me as a council member to know how the process really works and how he's had to accept this substandard. I mean, what are we doing? I mean, even 19, if he has invoices from January and they're still not paid, well, somebody needs to be held accountable for that, Judy, because, you know, we have a prompt payment law. And if he's not being told that the escrows, in any department, whether it's recreation, engineering, whatever, if that money is not there for him to bill, well, it's our responsibility to tell Mr. Azzolino, you gotta stop because there's no more money. Once they post it, I'll send you the escrow receipt. I mean, I used to get the receipts and it'd say, hey, on such and such developer, put $5,000 more in the account, so now you can continue a review or you continue your inspections or continue whatever you were doing. So there's definitely a breakdown, and you said you're working hard to get this resolved, and I think what I'm stating is fact, right? I mean, so under prompt payment, we're 2 years behind this guy. and-
I can't say to the past, but I would think, what you're saying is, I don't think people follow up. I can't say, that's probably what did happen. There
Does
wasn't
that
enough money
usually
in the account, that's what
happen in the
probably
the
happened.
building department? or-
No, it's in the,
Well, it's a
it's,
combination of places. There's a role for construction.
Yes.
There's a role for planning and zoning.
Yes.
And there's a role for finance.
Okay.
So all 3 of those pieces have to be coordinated for this to work the way that it should. Prior to us getting here, that wasn't being done. There was no coordination. So we're trying to get the flow correct so these bills are pumped out more quickly. The bill recently received, I know that a lot of POs against those invoices have very recently been signed, so a lot of those are going to come on.
Okay.
So we're moving more quickly than we were previously, but not to the level that we should.
but I think like in you know what Bob's talking about, a forensic accountant, we must have people's escrow for years and years and years that we haven't even returned to them.
Well, the other
And-
thing I think also that I think sometimes, and if you and I spoke about this, escrow might have been returned and then we're getting bills after the fact.
But escrow should never be returned until
Until the
Mr. Azzolino
project's
signs a paper
Right.
that says, I'm done with this project.
But
Right,
I don't know-
there's gotta be a closeout.
But I don't know
Yeah.
how
Hasn't
long
been done.
that's been taken. I mean, what I do is, if I know it's near closing, I'm gonna write to legal and to engineer, okay? you have X amount of days to submit your final bills.
Well,
You have to
like,
know, and then-
in
and
my
I don't know if
past
that was
experience, in my
happening or
past
not, I don't
experience,
know.
every January 1st, I'd get my little, my CFO would send me a little love note, no, not a
Right,
love note,
exactly.
a little note saying, hey, all these escrows are open.
Right.
You have till January 31st.
Exactly,
I am
right.
going to close every one of these, so say your piece or forever
that's what
hold
I
it.
did, right.
And that's the way it worked. But I'm sure we have escrows that are 20, 30 years old, and we're holding on to people's money.
Well, I think it's a little bit of that, and I think maybe some of these, there aren't any money in there, so maybe they might have been refunded, maybe.
But part of our agreement with Starzlino is that we were supposed to go through that list, right? And we had this discussion in September, and I hope the rest of the council remembers it. And he agreed that if there's money left in the escrow, he would accept whatever was left if it exceeded, if his number exceeded that, he was willing to forgive the rest because it was shame on him for letting it go so long. But if the money was there, we owed him that money.
Right.
So now we're going from September, we're in April, and we still haven't even
Well, I
started
can tell you
that.
honestly, I have not looked at these, honestly.
I understand, you're.
Because I've been doing everything else, but I did analyze today where I actually backed out, a lot of it was 19, and I think Mr. Togo had said, accounts payable did give him a few checks, because this was much higher, like right now I have 43,000, and 2019 of that is 23,000, so he's owed about 20,000, it's still a high number.
I worked for
No.
God, thank you for doing what he does. I worked for, the third largest, one of the third ranked engineering company in the world, and if they owed me $1,500, I'd have to stop working. So
Oh, no,
43,000, God bless them for letting them go that far, but it's shame on us because we're not doing
And I think
our
part of the
responsibility.
situation here, a lot of these are soil movement, my understanding is that soil movement was in the clerk's office, and some of these go way back when, so whether or not there was any kind of follow-up to collect that in the clerk's, I don't know.
But that doesn't normally fall onto us. We
Right, but I'm
collect the
saying,
fees and
because
then we-
I think you collect, and I think it should have
That's
been
where
coming
it
from the
ends.
finance office.
Of course it should come from finance, because clerk doesn't cut checks, only finance cuts checks,
I'm saying, so
yeah.
I don't know what happened with
Okay.
that, but,
I'm sorry, the clerk only collects the funds, is that
Well,
correct?
we
just
don't
collects-
issue any checks.
right, she just collects the funds. and
She just collects the application, which should be done by the I don't understand why the building department isn't collecting the application.
But Sue, let me ask you a question. Once the letter comes from Paul Azzalina and there's
engineering
soil
side.
movement, and you don't collect it, that goes then to finance? Is that what they're doing here now? or-
When the permit comes in, we collect two checks, an application fee and an engineering fee, an escrow fee.
Okay,
Then it goes to Paul. He reviews it and determines if there's any additional fees that need to be collected. If not, or even if there is, he will send a letter out to the homeowner along to us that the fees are collected or this is due. Once we get the money from the applicant, because again, they get a copy of the same letter, then we notify the building department that all their soil fees are moved or taken care of. That's the end of us. All the checks get, put over to finance.
so at that point in time, when the applicant's getting that letter from Paul, they should be sending that money into finance.
No, they come to me with the additional fees.
With the
Whatever
additional fees?
And then once we know all the fees are in for soil moving, then we let building department know that the fees are in, and she can do whatever she has to do, be it if it's another piece she's waiting for, if we were the last piece, then building department can issue whatever permits need to be
Okay.
done.
But these might be then additional soil movement then. That's what it could be.
So
But
I
again,
think-
the additional soil moving comes through my office and it
Just yell,
goes
Mike, you have to
back
yell.
out.
Oh, no, Mike, go ahead, Mike.
No, I think my raising Azzalina brought us off topic, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, back to the discussion of a forensic accountant, so.
Yep.
In going through this year's budget, there were a few things that I noticed, Bob has noticed some things, and I think it is worthwhile. I mean, we do have a auditor coming in, and I'm sure some of this will be brought to his attention, and he may have a view on what has happened, but, is there another level of research and understanding that needs to be done? Perhaps there is,
So
and
we'll interview some forensic accountants, I guess you're saying? Is
I
that
think,
what we do?
I mean, I think it would be worthwhile.
Yep,
And,
absolutely.
they would tell us if they think it's worthwhile. I mean, it's the book should be open, you know, there is transparency. We have these ledger rolls, these entries.
Yes.
You know,
But it's 10,000, so we're asking to increase this line to 10,000, 901-20111-260?
yeah, I believe that's the,
43, and this is 19.
I believe that's the request.
Mr. Bruno, your request is to make 901-20111-260 $10,000 for forensic accountants? You have, anybody want to second
I
that?
would second that.
Gentlemen, Mr. Bruno, Mr. Allman want to make 901-20111-260 $10,000 to start the process of having the books audited by a forensic accountant. Roll call? It was, you got motion and second, right?
Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Abstain.
Councilman Cumming?
Abstain.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Council President Senator?
Yes?
Can I just go back on a memo?
Bob, you'll, 1 second,
No,
you'll
sorry.
provide the names of who you
Yes,
want us to
yes,
interview?
Yes. So, Bob, Mr. Tovo sent me an update with Azalina, so I just want everybody to be, thanks for sending it today.
Okay.
So, there's a whole bunch that's said here, but the last sentence says, and I'll be quick, this is dated September 30th, 2018. It should be noted that as of today, there are approximately $35,561 of outstanding invoices to be charged to the escrow fund, $7,944 encumbered and ready to be paid. $27,616 are unencumbered and need to be analyzed to see if the monies exist in these escrows. If the money does not exist, it will either need to be collected or written off by Azalina. This is per the memo. So I want to make sure that any of this 27,000 that he mentions here,
But this is, the interim administrator wrote that memo, not Mr. Tovo.
no, he sent it to me, yeah, but this.
Yeah, but that's
yes,
the interim
yes.
administrator wrote that,
But-
yes, that's not from Mr. Tovo.
No,
That's- yeah,
no,
okay.
no. But there's $27,616 that was questioned.
Yeah,
So I
And that
don't
was
know.
that was
So
the
question,
point.
my question is, did we pay any of that and check it back to see if they exist in escrows, or did Azalina write any of this off?
I don't think Judy said we've done that yet, right, Judy?
No, but we did pay $3,831 just recently. I think there was another pay, a big pay, not too long ago.
Yeah, but those are new ones, not going back into the old invoice.
Some are older.
Some are
I wouldn't say
Okay, so
way
somebody
back
will
when.
go through it and
Right.
look
So that's not current?
We're not gonna waste
That's
it.
not the current?
No.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen,
Somebody will
so
have to
Judy,
figure it out.
you'll amend the admins for 5,000 plus for 111260?
Yes.
All right, could you
Thank you.
present the different surplus usages?
Oh, yes.
Gentlemen, so for the next meeting, if we could review the admins, we'll change that one item that you just asked for, Mr. Bruno, and then we'll review any others for the next meeting. We did get an extension. Mr. Cumming will not be with us in the next 2 meetings if we need to have them. So we're going to meet at our next regularly scheduled meeting to introduce the budget, right, Sue? We got till 15th? Thank you.
I just want to say with this, this does not reflect the increase in the county, in the open space. And I came up with $100, Alex had 98. So I would say add $100 to this for the overall increase in taxes.
Does this include the school?
That's school, no, this, the
No, no, it's
$100 is the school, the county, $100 addition to these, include the school, the open space, and the county,
Okay, so
right?
if,
So if you look at number 1, right, and it says we're gonna use 1.2, taxes will be 421.
Wow.
so,
So it'll be $105 a quarter.
We're getting $100 for the increase for the school, the open
I'm
county,
sorry,
the county and
Judy.
the open space.
I lost you. Some on the
You just- All
321.
these, you're gonna add 100 to the
100
under,
to-
for each one for school and county.
School,
Whatever that
county.
number is.
So it's plus 100.
321 is 421?
421
421.
with school.
School and county.
That's if you use
Okay,
the
but our
1.2.
portion is
Add 100 to
321.
each.
Ours is 321.
Right, so the municipal portion is 321.
321,
Okay.
right. That's using the 1.2.
Good. But the school is part of this addition, I assume? This $23 million,
Yeah, part of it, yeah.
Yes,
that's what I'm
mhm,
saying.
yes. Mhm. I figured it's just 100 straight across the board, so I
Okay.
figured did
Well,
you
we
see
don't- we
municipal,
can't
and you could see
control that.
170.
Right.
Yeah, that's something you can't control, right. The second one, we're going to use 1.5, so it would be 235 for municipal. And then if we use 1.8, it would be 150.
I know we brought up,
Where's the $100 come and go?
that's the county's, that's
County
the
and
county
the state
share
and the
and the
school
school
board.
share.
Oh,
And open
So we have
space.
to add that, so
so
Judy's
it's
saying,
250,
So your total-
not 150.
yes,
Right,
if
it's
you, if you use the
Okay.
1.8 million, you're gonna see a $75 a quarter raise in your taxes.
Thank you.
That's not 75, 66.3.
Just want to be clear.
So gentlemen, I think, I know we tried we talked about the other night, cutting it by $1 million and kind of, I think that's too, in my eyes, that's a very rash cut going from 2.2 to 1.2. I think we have to try to find a happy medium. I don't know. That's my thoughts.
Well,
Go ahead.
I mean, we went from 1.2 to 2.2. We agreed to it.
Yeah. Well, well, that's why Judy ran the numbers for different options
Plus, we've always done 1.2 for the team.
before we started the larger ones.
Yeah, we always, the former mayor and council, or whomever, always usually ran about 1.1.1.2. If you look
Okay.
at all the budgets.
That's fine.
1.1.1.2. But I mean, the difference of 321 and 235, so that's, what, is that $90, $100?
Yeah.
$100 divided by 4? $25 more a quarter? I mean, we need the money for the town, that's my concern. It's $300,000 that can go somewhere cash.
What's that?
We should do the 1.5, 1.5.
We're talking, I'm sorry, Art, the middle?
Art's talking to
Yeah, the middle
1.5.
one. Yes, Steve.
No, 1.5 is the high mark, right?
No, that's,
1.8 is the
1.8 is the low one.
Oh,
is the-
You have it
I'm sorry.
flipped.
Well,
I got
yeah.
it.
That's the
I'm sorry, I
compromise.
have,
The compromise number
I have
in
the
the middle.
smallest at
Yes.
the front, 1.2.
I would tend to go with the middle road.
The 1.5, Mr. Cassidy?
1.5, so your increase, the overall residence on an average would be 335. So
With
you're talking-
school and.
With school and
and
everything. So
county.
you're talking,
That's power.
yeah, that's not bad. We're talking quarterly, that's.
It's not so terrible.
$80.
$80 a quarter.
You've-
So,
We should be able to, some of us run on that.
it's 3 pizzas, man. 3 pizzas a month. I'll get dinner. Be nice.
Do we know what the average tax bill is?
The average home is what, the
465.
460?
465.
So it must be a little over 10.
I believe, yeah, it's a little over, that. Actually, we came up with a preliminary rate, and it would come about $11,400.
So
But that was using the 1.2. It will be a little less than that. This thing only has for 11.2 on this one.
I mean, the thing is, any increase we do now is basically going to be at 100 cents, not at 60 cents, because we don't get that incremental federal write-off now due to the salt cap. So,
Yes,
you know,
it's a lot.
which is fine with me, but just, I think we're in a high-tax jurisdiction. New Jersey is. I mean, I think everyone knows that. So, anything over 10K, anyone who did their taxes knows that,
And I think in
Or
this
anybody who
area,
heard
we're
from
all
their
probably over
accountant.
10K.
What's that,
In this
Judy?
area, I think we're all over 10K in this area.
Most of them.
so. But, I mean, it is what it is. I like the 1.2 number, but I'll certainly go with the majority.
I'm good with 1.5, like Mr. Cumming and Dr. Cassio. Bob, you okay with 1.5?
I prefer the 1.2, so I'm a no to the 1.5. I mean, I don't think there's a big whoop, but I'd rather take $300,000 in cash and use it for something else. That's a big whoop. So again, let's just go back for a minute. We have $4.2 million in surplus. We have $1 million in school. 5.2 million, correct? Judy? We use 1.2, we have 4 million. We keep 2 in surplus for a rainy day, and that gives us $2 million for the town. That's how I look at it. So that's why I say 1.2, it rounds, it's nice, it's neat, it's clean. 2 million stays, or you leave $1.5 million as reserve and take 2.5 out in cash. We have a firehouse, we have trucks.
We got a bond, yeah.
We also just moved some of this stuff that we didn't want to put in capital into current fund.
Correct.
So, and that caused a little bit, but.
Well, that's what caused the blip,
I
yeah.
know, a little bit, but, so that's my feeling. So I would stay with 1.2, and that's my vote. So I don't know if you want to take a roll call or whatever, but that's fine.
Take a roll call for the 1.5? You okay with that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to vote down, but there's
Oh.
3, so,
You want to try something in between the 1.2 and the 1.5?
no, I think that's,
No,
I mean,
it's
it's
not-
just tax
that's a
point
bridge.
is 100,
That's a bridge,
2,000.
right.
Yeah, no,
I just figured I'd.
It's
go
not
with
I
worth,
think just, whatever,
it's not worth the
it's
paper.
majority rule, so
Yeah.
I would just motion the
Well, I was
1.5.
trying to buy a tax point.
Motion for the 1.5 surplus usage, gentlemen. I have a
Right.
motion by Mr. Cumming. Anybody else second it?
I'll second it.
Dr. Cassio? Roll call?
Councilman Bruno?
No,
Councilman Caprio?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman? I'm sorry, Councilman Cumming?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
No.
Council President Singh?
Yes.
So it's going to be the 1.5?
1.5.
All right, gentlemen.
okay, so before we move off that for a minute, so I want to be clear on this. There's the 4.2 million, the 1 million is 5.2. We're going to move 1.5.
Yep.
Correct, so that gives us
1.7.
3.7, right? So of the 3.7, why don't we agree what we feel we should leave in surplus, and then what we have available?
Well, why don't we wait till Mr. Beinfeld and Mr. May get back to us with the different bonding options?
But
and
we
see what-
can, but you're still gonna wanna leave a surplus, so either you leave your 10% of what we spend, so you leave 1.3, 1.5, or 2 million.
I'd leave 2.
That's what you're gonna leave, those are your choices,
Yeah,
really.
let's
It doesn't matter what they say. I
2
mean,
million.
it does. but-
Yeah, but
So 2 million?
2 million.
I would say at least 2 million.
At least 2 million,
I'm
yeah.
not,
2.2 is more, I'd be more comfortable with 2.2, Bob. And then 1.5, and 1.5 going back.
I think two is a safe number.
2.2 is a nice safe number, and then 1.5 going back.
Two flat for me.
What?
2 million flat.
2?
that's your preferred surplus? Or-
That's my preferred.
Not surplus. Oh, yes. your
Surplus, yeah.
Surplus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Surplus
so,
remaining.
Nothing
Yes.
less than
Talking
2 million.
non-school.
Nothing less.
yeah,
We're
so,
talking 2 plus 1 for 3,
No,
right? You're not talking with the school. School wants on its own.
no, that's everything. That's all the money we have.
it's 3.7, yeah.
So you can look at the surplus if you want, 4.2 less 1.5, that's the difference, right?
Okay.
And then that difference, that's 3.7. Of the 3.7, 2 stays and 1.7 comes
It's
out.
5.2, it's
Oh.
5.2.
It's 5.2 with the school, am I right?
Yes.
Right, okay.
So if we keep it at 2,
That gives us $1.7 million to,
And bear in mind, we have this huge uncollected tax reserve for
I understand.
800,000 that goes nowhere, except into surplus. So you'll get a $500,000 to 600 next year.
the only thing I would say is that, this school money came to us through the result of the sale, and some powers that be years ago didn't want to spend it,
Yeah,
and now we're the beneficiaries of that.
yeah.
So I don't think we should jerk around with it. I mean, I think
No,
it should
I
go
agree.
into, I would propose that we fund the DMF. We clearly
DMF
earmark
with it, yeah.
what we want to do.
yeah,
A capital project that we don't stick the residents with.
Right.
Correct.
Because they paid for it.
I agree.
It's been paid for years. I mean, it's been there since, what, 1980-something? Some ridiculous, 87, right? Yeah.
Good.
You could say DMF, you could say the fire.
Our house,
department,
whatever, but it's got to be earmarked for a capital building project.
permanent capital.
Well, I think, the nice thing about DMF is we're ballparking at $1.3 million, so $1 million of it would be paid from that. And it kind of shows, hey, we kept this money for, 22 years, and we're going to use it now for 32 years, excuse me, geez.
Would have been a nice interest-bearing account somewhere. Could have had everything. Could have had it all.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Bruno?
No, so let me just go back, I'm sorry. So
5.2.
2.2 stays as surplus.
Yep.
1.5 we're going to use in the budget,
Mhm.
so that's 3.7 from the 5, excuse me, from the 5.2. So that leaves us $1.5 million.
Yep, and $1 million's gonna go to DMF, we
Right.
think.
So the question I have now for you, Judy, because I never really understood this, is how do we get that money and use it? Because this is always a gray issue.
Well, if
It's a
you
gray
go-
issue for me because I don't understand how to take it
If you're going to
out.
take it right out of that so-called investment account that's holding that $1 million for the building, you just take it out.
So we don't have to do anything with that. Okay, so then we just, what about the $500,000?
Okay, as far as when you say you have surplus, we talked about having a 2-year budget, okay? So right now, that surplus, when you get your order, you're gonna have your surplus available. That's gonna go down once you use it to the new budget, that's gonna be your remaining balance. You were saying you have your 4.2, we're gonna
Yeah.
use 1 point whatever.
Yeah.
And you could always use that surplus. You just like, you know how you take it into the current budget, it's the same thing. You
So-
just switch it out.
Okay, so the $1 million we can take because it's in an account.
It's in the account,
The 500 we can take too?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything else, gentlemen? We're going to go into close to discuss police and personnel matters. Do I have a motion to go into close? We will not reconvene after closed.
So moved.
Second.
Excuse me, Councilman Bruno?
Yes.
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Cummings?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Council President Justina?
Yes. Just let me let Ricky know.
I just want to go to mental.
Yes, if everyone take a 5-minute break.